So before we get started, I have a couple questions. How many of you are retailers? Okay. And then how many are you wholesale or CPG? Okay. The reason why some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, it applies to both sides. Some of it really applies to one, some of it applies to the other. And what we're going to talk about is moving forward is actually the future of advertising and what has really happened with television and how we can make it essential for you as a retailer. And it is very key that we look at this and look at that entity. I know there's supposed to be a disclaimer that NGA is supposed to come in and talk about that we're doing non-compete and everything. I do not have that in front of me to read, but until they show up, we're going to keep moving forward and agree to that disclaimer. So any questions so far? All right. The other thing, this is interactive. Please ask questions at any point. Even though I don't mind staying up here for entertainment and everything else, this is actually for you and to broaden everyone and what we're looking at and doing. So, future of advertising, low-cost digital. The question is, really, you have to look back in some of the past and the history to see what's going on, what's happening. And the first thing is if you look back around, the 60s and everything else, that's when traditional advertising was out there. And that was TV, radio, print, billboards, all the traditional methods. And it started fragmenting and moving and changing to different styles. And then in the 80s, when the computer came in and then internet and everything else, that started fragmenting more. And what you now have is a blend of TV and digital moving forward. And then the third thing that has happened in the revolution or the evolution of advertising is retail media networks. And I'm going to talk about that just for a second. I know there's like 6 or 7 other sessions here today that talk about retail media networks. And the two things that I always tell every retailer is sign up for every single one you can, okay? And then the other thing, remember, it's the golden rule. The person who has the gold, that's spending the money, makes the rules. And what I mean by that is we're talking about branding and messaging. And so if a CPG company says they're going to put money into a media network, do they want their brand promoted or do they want your individual store brand promoted? And that's what a retail media network is. So I'm not saying it's negative, I'm saying sign up for it, but this is not that. But at the same time, I'm going to speak out the other side of my mouth. IGA's been doing one for about 8 years. So it does work. It is something you need to sign up for and look at, whether it's IGA or in the other ones that are here. But again, it does not mix with what we're doing and what we're talking about. So what we're really talking about is media transformation. I'm going to tell you a story. How many of you guys remember the TV show MASH? You know what this Friday is? It is the 43rd anniversary of the last episode. Now, why is that important? That show had 105 million people watch it, the largest audience ever in television. 43% of the Americans watched it. We've seen 30% growth in population. And then how many of you guys watched the hockey fight between Canada and US last week? Okay, so you know about it. That got 9.9 million viewers, and it was the highest rated ESPN show outside of an NFL game. That's how fragmented TV's become. So when you think about that, we've gone from 105 million down to 9 million. That's huge. Why? Because of connected TV and digital TV. Did that just blur? Can you guys see that? Okay. So I'm looking at it from an angle, sorry. So the money that was spent on connected TV was a little bit less than $6 billion back in 2019. It's going to be over 40 in another year. It's a lot of money moving through the system. Now, what does connected TV really mean? In America, we have 88% of all homes have a smart television, connected TV device that's viewed. It is not just a USA phenomenon. It's happening across the world. It's happening in places like Australia and Ireland, South Africa. It is going to be the future of how television is going to be used. Now, the other thing is, people are spending more than 100 minutes a day on connected television. That's quite a bit of time that they're spending on it. So any questions so far on connected television? That is where things are happening. All right, so a little bit about ADvay. ADvay started as an agency about 7 years ago. In this May, We will be our 4th year when we become part of IGA, the Independent Grocers Alliance. And we do work both domestically and internationally for the Alliance. And we also do a number of these different services. And all of these services have started based upon retailers raising their hands saying, can you help with this or can you do this? Okay? But the biggest one we're talking about right now is the connected TV and the production services that are there and set up for moving forward. So, why is this important? Customers are seeking information about food, and we've talked about this. This is actually going to become more and more difficult to find and track, mainly because of what's happening. And there's 4 things that are happening in the marketplace. You have tariffs, and you've all read about that. You have an immigration challenge. You also have the changing of the U.S. government with dollars, with SNAP and other programs. And then the 4th one, you have the HHS changing different products. How does that matter? We found with COVID, any time you have a workforce reduction of a few percent in anywhere in the food distribution system, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's picking, supply and demand takes over and you have inflation. You are going to see inflation happen. It's going to happen hopefully short term, but it could actually last 24 months. If you use COVID as an example of what happens with workforce. Workforce reduction of 5%, we saw this in the meat packing and the meat processing centers, was extremely costly. Prices went up and they stayed up for a long time. So what's going to happen is, going back and looking at COVID, because it's a pretty cool model when you look at it from consumer behavior, what happens is the independent store becomes the source of knowledge. It becomes authenticity. You as an individual store become the expert, and you have the narrative where you can talk about things to your customers that the big box stores can't. And that puts you in the catbird seat when you think about it. They're going to trust you. The question is, how do you tell that story? And with connected TV, you can tell that story for pennies at a time. Okay? And why do I mean that? Pennies at a time. So how many of you guys remember running inserts? Oh, only 2? Come on, you guys, some of you remember that. Okay, if you take the average cost of an insert and you look at that cost and you say, okay, the printing of it, the distribution of it, and I'm gonna put out 10,000 inserts, and I hope 20% read it, your cost per view is $1.45. When I can do connected TV for a completed view at 3 cents is my average for last year. We have over 20 million completed views. And that's how we look at it, as a completed view. Now, from a television standpoint, why is this important? So again, I'm gonna step back in history a little bit. So in the old days, you have to buy TV as a waste. So if I had a store here in Crawford County, in the St. Louis DMA, I would have to buy not only that zip code, or that county, but every county in the blue. Well, my store is only in one county. Why do I have to spend money for all that other area? With connected TV, we can go into an individual zip code. So now I can target your home zip code. I can target a primary zip code where you want to gather business. I can also target a zip code where you want to retain business and fight competition. So we can actually make sure that the media spend is direct. Who can use directed TV? So any single store can do this. We have a number of single stores working on it. We have chains and ad groups that are working together on it. And then we actually have national products and national and regional campaigns between growers, the IGA Ugly Sweater Contest, and that sort of thing, and we're replacing digital across the nation. So it's available for everyone. But this is the one key important thing. Where does it fit in the marketing decision tree? So if you start at the bottom, you as grocers, you do a phenomenal job at the bottom with evaluation and purchase. That's your in-store look, that's your signage in-store, your uniforms, and that's all your messaging that's in the store. You do a great job of that. Intent, a lot of you have digital circulars, or you have a PDF of a circular online, you have websites, you have email blasts going out to your consumers, okay? The next one up is social media. Social media, I always call that's a cocktail party. You never go to a cocktail party with someone that's having that you don't know. You know, you just don't bust in, but if you know them, that's what social media is. It's a simplified description, but that's where consideration is. The awareness. is what's missing in the retailer. The retailer is not using awareness to get their message out and their brand message out. And we don't have to do item and price there. It's awareness. It's a branding message. So, what kind of ways that we can take the connected TV and the TV ads? You can put them in all different types of things. You can put them in Meta. We can advertise that in Meta, or anyone can. You can use CTV or OTV, which is the different connected devices. You can actually have some of it go in digital display. And you can target based upon behavior and all the other different consumer profiles that you're going to hear, especially when you hear people talk about retail media networks. We have 20 different data points that we're bringing in and we're going to target. Well, that's good, but if your store only has 10,000 homes or 15,000 homes in this trade area, why do you want to segment that trade area even more? You want to reach all of them. So it's making a smart decision as to how much data to use to fragment that market. If I'm doing a national buy, heck yes, I'll use all 20 data points. But if I'm doing a media buy in Southern Ohio, where there's only 15,000 homes around the store, why do I want to fragment that market? I don't. I want my message across all of it. So it's making intelligent media buy decisions. So now the question is, how does this get done? So basically, you define your strategy. It's pretty easy, and we'll show you how to do that. We create a script around the benefit. And then we turn around and we say, okay, let's buy the media. And this one, the example is 15-minute drive time around the store. Let's do that. Okay? We record the TV ad, create the TV ad, and then measure results. Pretty simple, isn't it? This is an example, and I'll show you the example of the ad here in a minute. You expand the awareness. They want to expand the awareness of grab and go. We have a TV ad, come in and pick up lunch or dinner on the way home. Media buy is $500 a week. Production costs around $2,000, but the production costs can be amortized over 6 months to a year, depending on how much footage we get and do that. And they're expected to see a sales category lift of about 15%. Now, this is how it's done and everything else. So, any questions so far? Okay. Yeah, so the question is, make sure I say this right for everyone. So the question is, can I take my print insert that I'm spending $800 now, do some in-store copies, and then do this for the rest of the messaging? Yes, this is what a lot of retailers have been doing. We have some retailers, actually one of the examples here, Kevin Young, we have on video, he couldn't make the show. His wife had bunion surgery, so he's running her around and everything else. But he actually eliminated all of his inserts. He does some in-store copies that are flyers, printed in-store, and then he is applying this. And he actually is saving some money because his total spend was this, and now his spend is this, so he's able to put this back into the profit, into the business. So, and we have ways. What I just showed you, you can take to anyone. And there's some agencies that are walking the halls here and that. They can do this. They can do all of this. We can do this. But this is the key. It's very simple. It's very easy to move through the steps. Now I'm going to I call it's the sales pitch. This is why work with us. So as part of IGA, we do not mark up the media. IGA has a narrative from our board of directors is that what we do for independent retailers, we do at cost. So I just have to cover my buyers. But the other thing is, you're going to hear a lot about this with, again, I'm going to pick on Retail Media Network. And again, I love it. But they keep talking about how they're targeting consumers and everything else. That does not matter. Content is king. It's the creative. Okay, if the brand and the message doesn't resonate, doesn't reach the consumer, you can have the best media buy in the world and it's not going to work. So you have to start there. And you have to use the realization content is king. Okay, we've done this enough. We have enough existing programs that we can actually plug and play. And what I mean by that is you can tell me my store wants to do A, E, and F as far as different things to brand. And we have scripts already. All we have to do is modify them a little bit. I have 3 different, go ahead. We recommend the message change every 2 weeks, okay? And I'll talk a little bit about programs and how that works in just a second. But great question. The question was, how often do we change? We do have some retailers that want a weekly change. We do not recommend item and price, but we have done at times where it's like, okay, turkeys are this price because we're gonna fight Thanksgiving. It's a theme and price at the same time and it makes sense, okay? But the other thing is, so we have and been doing this enough that we can plug and play. The other thing is we are going to feature your store people. And I had an owner that wanted to do this. They stayed in the back office all the time and we wouldn't let them on TV. I got in trouble for it. They actually canceled. They got mad at me. But I'm not going to spend the money because the consumers don't know the owner. They know the people on the floor. That's who we want to show, is the people on the floor. Okay, we will make the media, your associates media stars. But the bottom line is the other thing. Average view-through rate, which means when you see the TV ad and you watch it all the way through, you don't hit that skip button, is 30% nationally. Our ads are running between 55 and 79% view-through. That is the key. And that's where we're tying in. And again, you go back to what I said at the beginning, you as independent grocers, you have this ability of being known as the experts. So we make this real easy. Like I said, we already have this, and I'll talk about the creative content in a second. You just stop by and see one of the IGA people. Eric is here. Eric is one of our managers of the actual production process. Okay? We'll have a 20, 25-minute discussion with you as to what your key items are. We'll set up a creative team that will come into the store. We have 3 different ones. We have 2 on the East Coast, 1 on the West Coast. The cost is, we have a flat fee, but travel. So it always ends up as a little bit of an estimate because, again, travel costs. And then we run the schedule. It's a very easy program. And we made it that way because I was at this show when it was over, where was it, Bellagio, years ago? In the Mirage. And I remember it was like 10, 12 years ago, and I had a retailer come up and says, just take your iPhone and go around the store and do all this. And we've never seen a retailer do that. And the reason is because you guys are busy. You're running your stores. So we got to make this an easy button for you. So here's the example. This is Kevin. It was working. Okay, so while we got a break here, the costs, recommendation creative. So the recommendation of creative, what we do is, depending on which package you want to jump in on, we have a video crew come in. They'll have storyboarded out either 3 or 6 different ads right away. And then also shoot enough footage that we could do 12 for an entire year. But we recommend every 2 weeks to rotate. Thank you. Every 2 weeks to rotate. We start off with 3 to 4 ads right away, and we'll rotate those every couple weeks, and then we'll start producing the rest of them in cycle. And we try to do that because as a production team, if you front load it all at the production, then that all lengthens out, but then there's downtime in the production team. So we're trying to keep them steady because it keeps all the costs down. So. So the question is, you have 2 stores in the same region. Everything we do is by either store or brand. So if you're coming to me and there's another independent 5 miles down the road and you're asking me to work on your store, I will work on your store. Everything we do is for your store. Everything in all the reports we do are yours, okay? We do not share them without written permission. We do a number of different profiles on stores and competition and cross-shopping and all that. Again, that is entirely yours, and we don't share that. And we also, even though I said we're IGA, we do work with non-IGA stores. This is, as long as you're an independent, we will work with you.
And then recently you started doing like a little extra layer of digital marketing to build more awareness of your brand, because the circular is driving people that are price item, right, that are looking at the ad, and they kind of know who you are to even be looking at the circular. But you wanted to drive more awareness about what your stores were all about, so we came in and filmed some video to do some CTV, connected TV, YouTube ads And how has that worked for you?
That's been great. Actually, it was a little intimidating at first, but it didn't take much time. We did some just short commercials, and again, that's just, it gets more eyes on our ad. And I've had so many people reach out to me and be like, I saw you on TV, and so I know we're getting a good bang for our buck there.
Right.
So that's been a great process as well.
That's great.
Absolutely recommend it.
Great. Thanks for talking to me today, Kevin, about how you've embraced digital at your store. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So that's Kevin Young, and the reason why that's important is because of the next two ads I'm going to show you. So we got Kevin to agree to do this. Kevin applied it and everything else, and then we went into a store, and this is Jason. This is one of his 2 meat cutters that he has, and they were trying to get them on camera. And Jason and his partner, I always forget his partner's name, they actually flipped a coin of who's going to be on the ad. And whoever lost gets on the ad. Now you laugh at that, but what has happened is, because we've turned Jason basically into a superstar, into the consumers, he actually has people that will come up and ask only him to wait on them, ask him to cut the meat. He's actually able to service them better. He's actually able to upsell better at the store. And and if you talk to Kevin, he actually feels more part of the store and empowered within the store. Now his buddy keeps bugging Kevin and saying, when are you gonna come back and shoot? Because I wanna be on the ad now. Okay? But again, a lot of this is oversimplified, but it is exactly on point of being local.
Here at Young's Payless IGA, we proudly feature Harris Ranch USDA choice beef.
Visit us today in Pioneer, Lockford, or Copperopolis. Learn more at youngspaylessiga.com.
Now what you just saw was a 15-second ad, and we vary between the ad sizes and everything else. And that was the 15. Kevin also owns 3 different Ace Hardware stores. Same strip mall. So we took the same concept and applied it to the Ace Hardware stores. And the cool thing about that is, Kevin actually had half of it paid for through co-op because he wasn't applying for that co-op that we actually ran through the Ace. So for those of you that own a store and own secondary businesses, you can start applying the same concept and the same targeting and everything else, because your grocery is a base buy coming like this, and then at peak times, Ace Hardware pops in and drops out, drops in and drops out, and now his business is actually doing well.
Hi, I'm Megan with Young's Ace Hardware. From steel chainsaws to Milwaukee drills, we've got the right tools for the toughest jobs.
When it comes to performance you can rely on, we carry the best options to get the job done right. Visit us in Lodi, Copperopolis, and Lockford.
Now, I never talk about sales numbers, but I will say this, and Kevin will tell you, he's up about 8,000 transactions over 6 months of running the campaign. His Ace Hardware is up, he said, double digits. And he applies some of that, I'd like to say all of it, but I'm going to say we'll take some, to this branding and messaging coming in over the top and creating awareness for him.
Let's say you're in a suburban area, how long does it take for that to catch on? We're actually about to launch that in a couple of weeks. And when do we start ramping up sales? When do we start ramping up hot foods? When do we start ramping that up so that we're ready?
So, great question. Number one, you want to make sure your store is ready, okay, and it's cleaned up. We want, when we come in and video shoot, we want to make sure the store is set. So if we're doing, Jose, 9 stores, let's say we're only shooting in 3 of the stores, okay, because we're going to move some of the people around. Again, we're always looking for efficient ways. Jose has 9 stores, so if we're going to film people from all 9 stores, some of them are close enough that we have them move to store versus having production move. A little easier moving one person than equipment and that sort of thing. So what we would do is we'd go in. If the store's ready in a month, then we'll schedule that out. We'll put them in. And then what you will see within the first week, you will have people come in and start commenting on the ads. I mean, it will ramp up that quick. Yeah.
Young's Payless that was an early adopter. Production has since improved drastically since different production companies we work with these days.
So I'm going to show a couple more ads and examples. Yeah, thank you, Eric. So again, Kevin being an early adopter, we've modified some things. There's some things we didn't like, but we have to tell the story of how he's been through the evolution. So a couple of different ads that we have. We have North Park and Morgan IGA. We're going to talk about a marketing group, and we're going to show you a little bit of a concept of what we're doing for Northwest Grocers. Major market, we're doing Molly Stone, so we're advertising right in Google's backyard in San Francisco, which is kind of fun playing on that. And then another Geisler's spot. So.
Hi, I'm Corey with North Park IGA. Come visit our deli smokehouse for your next lunch or dinner. Be sure to try our ribs, pulled pork, or wings.
Evansville has 2 IGA locations to serve you the freshest local flavors.
So again, sometimes it's overly simple and it works. They had instant feedback of what was going on with the ad, people seeing the ad, people coming in, commenting, talking, and they are seeing sales increases. This is part of the marketing group, and this will be 2 ads, and then I'll talk about it.
Hi, I'm Esther with Baby Thriftway. If you're hungry and in a rush, come pick up lunch or dinner from us.
Grab your next meal at Bayview Thriftway. Find your local grocer at shoplocalgrocersnw.com.
So remember earlier where I said plan it out, they want to do the grab and goes. And that was a 15-second.
Hi, my name is Kevin, and welcome to Okies. Here at Okies, we are proud to offer a variety of locally sourced Northwest produce.
Find juicy fruits and crisp vegetables when you shop with us. From aisle to checkout, we have everything you need for your next meal.
Our friendly and inviting staff is ready to assist you with all your shopping needs.
Find your local grocer at shoplocalgrocersnw.com.
So that was a 30-second. There's a little bit long on that, but it was designed that way on purpose because Northwest Grocers is testing this. We're testing it as a process. How to get production to 8 different stores in one day, which is what we're trying to do because 8 stores are on this program. Because what they want to do is come back and say, in that 30-second ad, they want to take the back end off of it, and they want to make it available for programs that they're selling to vendors to help fund it. So again, they're looking at it as a marketing concept and a marketing program of having a number of independent stores join together and do some work together. How do we get those stores to do that? How do we get them to have a local message and branding, but yet if there's 10 weeks in the cycle that they're advertising, maybe 5 are supported or sponsored by a vendor. And that's what they're trying to do. So that's where it works from an ad group standpoint. This is Molly Stone's. Molly actually does their own creative. And again, it doesn't matter on our side of where the creative's done, but this is again one of their branding messages for loyalty and launching loyalty.
Being a local and family-owned market since 1986 has us feeling more grateful than ever for each one of our customers. And now we want to share that appreciation by thanking you every time you shop with us. With our new Molly's Rewards, the more you shop, the more you earn. It's free to join. When you sign up, you can earn up to 3% in rewards dollars for all your everyday favorites, specialty items, and more. For a limited time only, when you sign up, you'll get a $20 instant sign-up bonus. Join today at mollystones.com/rewards. Being a local.
All right, so another one, I looked at this. This is part of our reporting. We were doing this for Bob Ryback and Geisler's and that, and we're coming back, okay, Bob, this was your highest rated. It was viewed through at 59%. So you guys have seen a lot of the ads, so let's just keep going here. The thing of it is these kind of campaigns, you constantly get feedback from consumers. They're talking to you about it and everything else. The others is most stores experience sales and trip increase in the first week, if not the second week. And there's a massive improvement within associates because they feel more buy-in with the store. So questions so far? You guys are quiet now. That's true. Okay, so one other thing I want to show you, and I want to speed ahead here. Some of this is for other parts. On the reporting, this is one of the key things I thought is really important from yesterday's discussions and all that, and that is this right here. This is the age breakdown. This is a buy that was done in actually central Ohio, in a very rural area in southern Ohio, not central. But you can see the age breakdown. It is across all ages that are looking at connected TV. It is not just a young person. It is all ages. So a couple things, like I said, there's agencies that are here and that sort of thing. They can do the same thing we're doing. We can do this. But you have to create that top of mind awareness for your store. That is your brand. That is the biggest key. Any questions? A lot of it is the shift on the print. Now, if you guys stop print, you've pocketed the money. Now's the time you got to come back out and start reinvesting some of that. And what's happening is, and we'll use Kevin as an example, his print budget was this. He's actually pocketed half of it, and the digitals come in that much cheaper. Okay? So we're not saying that everything has to be a full run going back to the dollars you spent at print, but you do have to have some of that. And again, this is where the messaging comes in. And I know everything is cost a dollar. And we have to worry about that in the economics. And that is the other big thing. That's what we do a lot, is make sure the economics are correct. Okay? Because if the economics are not correct for the store, it doesn't matter. This will not work because the store is not going to survive. I mean, so let's have the economics first. But again, with a lot of you, if you did cut print, if you're not reinvesting that money back in and you're just holding that, or you used it to go into healthcare or something else on the P&L, that money does need to end up back into marketing at some point. But Eric is right too. The layering, that is part of it. And that's part of the fragmentation. And again, at the very beginning, all you had to worry about was an insert, you had some TV, you had some radio, and all that. And it was very simple. And it is not simple anymore. The fragmentation is what's making it very complex. And you guys have to run your store. Any other questions?
I guess I'm just a little surprised by 15 seconds. So you just have to be really specific within that time, I guess. So I mean, whenever you're looking at meat, produce, pharmacy, reward card, online shopping, ADvay, bakery, I mean, just so you're talking about going out for a long time. So you're talking about running like just the produce for 2 weeks and then turn around and meat for 2 weeks. Is that your recommendation?
Yep. And to be honest, all those categories you mentioned, was that 7 of them? I bet you 3 of them that are not your expert. So if you're not very good at it, and that's not what you're known for, why would you go out and spend money to promote that you're not good at this? Okay? It's always go with your strength. So if those 4 categories or 3 categories are your strength, but one of those are not that you mentioned, I would not put it on the air. Again, I go back, content is king. And I know I can target, and you can say I'm going to do a pharmacy, and I can go out and we can do all the data points and all the data buying and target people using pharmacy. But unless the true goal was, I want to increase scripts and I have a new pharmacist in, I would not be doing it. Okay, and that's where it goes back to what is that goal and what is the content. Okay, we're trying, and I hate to say it, we're trying to make it oversimplified because that brand message of what you're known as a store, it's only really 2 or 3 things. Yeah. So this is another part of the report. So thank you, Sarah. I forgot about that. So this is where every month you'll actually see every ad and every ad performance and the view-through rates. So if we did run, let's say we did run pharmacy and it stayed at 50% because people didn't care. Okay, I'm sorry, that's a waste of money now. Wrong message. Have no problem testing, have no problem concept-wise. hey, let's try this, if we understand that's what it is. So if we try it, if it doesn't work right, okay, move on to the next thing. But always go with your strength. If we want to try it, we'll see in the reports. You guys are quiet still. Any other questions? Yeah, so the common is if you have one strong message, people will come in, and it is. We just find different ways of telling the message, okay? I mean, and if you really go back and you look at some of the ads that are running, even throughout, what is it, not the AARP, but the bank that you have to be a service member, okay? They find 15 different ways to say the same thing, how to be a member, and that's what we're talking about. Any other questions? We try for 2 to 3 weeks. And part of that is because we try to gather enough video footage that we don't have to go back in for a year, so we have to get that organized. Once that gets organized, we have had some campaigns push as fast as 2 weeks from when to shoot. Fortunately or unfortunately, we were able to, but we try to have a 3-week gap in there. Any other questions?
Do you have heat map information of where these videos are actually shown, and how accurate do you believe that is?
So right now, we do not track by heat map of where it's shown. We do know by zip code because that's the smallest denomination that we can get to for tracking. So we do know what zip codes are going in. I do not know if it's on the north side of the zip code or the south side. But we also have 2 different cell phone data companies that we use to track people and consumers, so we can actually look at cross-shopping. We can look at where consumers are coming from for your store, where your competition is, where your competition's people are going, and everything else.
And you don't have any issues with VPNs?
No.
Which is throwing off a lot of
No.
data these days.
It's throwing off some of the data, especially on display ads, but not on the connected. Because what we're doing is some of the stuff we're working on when we do that is we actually, depending on budgets and everything else, we're actually going in and buying some of the apps that are local. So we have a buy that we're doing for a retailer group in Hawaii, and we're going and buying Hawaii Today on their app. It is more when people are going in and searching, not necessarily watching TV. But it's one of those things we have to always be aware of, and we have to make considerations depending on that buy. Because if we're doing more meta in there, more display on the buy for the market, yes, VPN does come in. If we're doing straight connected TV or digital TV, it's not as advantageous. So, and again, that's being very specific for you as a retailer of what your buy is and what your market. Any other questions? You guys can get out early. Thank you very much. And if you have any other questions, we are around.